Hi, you guys. It's Noelle with Noelle Rollins Art. So I have said some really incredibly stupid things to people in really incredibly inconvenient times in life with the best of intentions. And I just wanted to share a few of those and what I wish I would have said, or if there's a way we could reframe it so that you don't make the same mistakes I have. One of them that sticks out in my mind was I had a friend going through a really tough cancer battle, and stage 4, everything. And I went to stay with her, and she had, people had fundraised and everything. And so one of the gifts that people had pitched in was to have someone come in and cleaning her house. And I showed up at her house, and it was just spotless and beautiful and just such a serene, healing environment. Like, to not have any of the stress of things that need to get done, where she could just focus on her babies and health and taking care of herself, was such a beautiful thing. And I made the comment, wow, your house looks so great. It doesn't even look like you need a cleaner. And I meant that in such a beautiful way, that not in any way to make her feel unjustified in having a cleaner, only to confirm that it looks amazing. And she said, well, all of us have different levels of comfort or cleanliness that we need to have. And she answered it so classy, right? But I just felt so bad because I realized the way that I said it almost came off like a backhanded jab. And I did not mean that whatsoever. It didn't even occur to me. And if anything, it was almost her complete ownership of that was such a beautiful lesson for me. I'm always trying to learn lessons from others. And it was such a gift in, we're all worthy of having someone help us in the areas that we need help in, or that we can hire people to do that. I mean, what a luxury and a privileged position to be in, also to get to hire someone to help clean our homes. I hope to be there someday. I have zero judgment about that. But yeah, so anyways, that's just something I said that I immediately like foot in mouth, right? Other things I've said, I'm sure, were probably every comment you're not supposed to say after someone passes. You know, oh, at least they're in a better place, or I'm so sorry. Even just something simple, let me know if there's anything I can do. No one's ever going to reach out and say, oh, here's what you can do for me. Much better to say, I'm bringing you dinner Tuesday. So should I leave it on the porch? Should I bring it in? You know, stuff like that, to just a very specific task, or put together a page where people can all pitch in and arrange dinners or gift cards, things like that. Another situation where I didn't specifically say something, but I had a friend that had a loss in their family, and it affected her so deeply. And her way of dealing with this loss was to put a bubble around herself. And this is very common, by the way, to where I know now, where other people that are going through that loss also all kind of like, that becomes your safe place. You can feel all the emotions within that bubble of people. And your tolerance or your energy for people outside of that is very low. And so you just kind of push people away. You only have so much energy to give, and you just can't have all the conversations and do all the things at the time. And me not knowing that took it a little bit personal. I knew better, and so I didn't say anything about it. I knew not to push her. I had experienced my mom already, so I knew the bonding that came with like me and my siblings, where you just went through something horrific together. And you know, like, so that if we found ourselves laughing at something, a memory of my mom, none of us thought like, oh, she's laughing, she must not care. Like, there was none of that judgment within that circle. And we needed that so we could bounce between tears and laughing and crying and anger and all of the things. But I did allow kind of this distance to come between us a little bit, and me to feel a little personally offended is a strong word, but a little bit like, doesn't she know I could be helpful? Doesn't she know that I wouldn't make her uncomfortable? Doesn't she know that I care? And not to do with her, but for my own mental health, I wish I could have just given myself permission to just not take it personal, to not spend any energy worrying about that. Instead, to put the offer out there for her so she knows I'm there, and then to occasionally check in a very light way without expectation on her end, so she knows I'm continuing to be there. And since then, years have passed now, and she's finally at a place where she can kind of let me back in again. So I'm really glad I didn't burn the bridges down, as I was out of my own anger and frustration and hurtness from her having to grieve in the way that she needed to grieve. I've heard of a lot of people saying things like, mostly since I talk with other women, I hear their reactions of their boyfriends or husbands. So this is in no way that men say this more than women. It's just who I happen to hear from more. But whether they are dealing with the loss of a parent and their husband is just like, you need to get over this. You need to get your life back together. It's been a month already. Get your crap together. Like, I can't keep doing all the things. And while I understand this in theory, I understand it's unfortunate for him, especially if there's kids involved, and there's fear. There's fear that this person is never going to recover, and how are we ever going to live a normal life again? But having come from the other perspective, a month after my mom passed, it was just starting to feel like I actually was understanding that it happened. I mean, I was in such a reaction mode of just taking care of business and getting it happen, but also just I had lived in Texas for years on and off. And so I was used to going months without seeing my mom. I would talk to her, but I was used to not seeing her face. And this was, way before FaceTime or even video chats or anything like that. So it actually was months later before that part of it really started hitting me. This is different. I knew on an intellectual level, but an emotional level, it was different phases and waves came to where another part of it became real. So allowing someone who's going through that to actually feel all those feelings is hard, but it's so necessary. I mean, and studies show that if people don't actually work through the feelings, if they just stuff it down and carry on, and they force themselves to not show the emotions, and they get back to work and they jump back in things, there's actually a diminished ability for them to feel any emotion. It quiets it all down. So now their joy levels, their carefreeness, all of it kind of dims a little bit. There's a really great book that's called Brain Work, and really talks about how the brain handles things like that. And it's not about grief, but I just found it fascinating understanding that. And then also, I mean, if you're in that husband, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever position, and now it's been a month and they're still in the fetal position and they're not able to move forward, there are things you can do besides just demand that they move on and get over it. There are professionals that are trained in how to help them through this, to encourage them to get help, to love them. I mean, my husband was so amazing in that he, especially the first week or two, just did dishes nonstop. He cleaned the house. He helped me with our daughter. It never once made me feel bad. It was just this, he just stepped in and let me, there was so much time with my family, my sisters and brothers and dad, that was needed through that time, that he didn't take it personal. And he just allowed me that space to do that, and was confident enough that it wasn't personal towards him. He knew that. And I'm so grateful to this day for that, because it was just such a, like a blip in time where you can kind of call time out from the world and go into this little cave to address this issue. And so sometimes we have to let those people address it. They need to work through things, and they need to feel the feels. Some things you can offer if you are in that position is there are online groups, there's Facebook groups, there's grief groups, there is pastors, therapists, counselors, grief therapists specifically for that. Funeral homes or churches, or a Google search can give you some places. But just don't come at them with a place of anger and jealousy and rage and you didn't like your dad anyways, why do you care? It doesn't help. It's going to actually give you the opposite effect of what you want. So those are some of the top ones that I've seen or that I've done personally. There are endless others. I would love to hear if you've seen some or what people have said to you, because we've all done it where we've said something and the minute it's out of our mouths, we're like, oh, that's not what I meant. And boy, that felt really tacky and gross. And I'm so sorry I just said that. Or times where we've said stuff with the best of intentions. And it isn't till later when we go through grieving that we look back and go, okay, wow, that was really not the right thing to say to that person. And then lastly, I'll just say that, especially if you're a person going through grieving, you kind of give some grace to the people around you. They're trying. They're going to say really crappy things that they genuinely are trying to help. And sometimes we just try to help and we say something that's just what you're supposed to say without really giving it thought. So don't go to battle over everything someone said to you. Try to always look at the intention. If they're saying it with love and they're trying to be supportive, honor that. And it makes all of it easier. I have a lot more I've written about this in my book, Sacred Hellos, Messages from Heaven. I'll put a link to it in the comments. Yeah, it's a messy process, isn't it? Just any sort of really hard situations, and we're trying to be helpful and we say wrong things. So I've done it too. I've had it done to me, and it's not fun either side, but I just wanted to talk about a few of them that I've experienced. So, all right, you guys, comment with the ones you'd add and like this video if you got anything from it. Thank you so much for being here. All right, bye.